He'll knock on wood, right? Somebody come rolling in here.
All right. Good afternoon. I'd like to bring the Thursday, July 2nd Design Review Board meeting to order. Kelly Freimeyer's the vice chair. I'm going to be heading the meeting today. And just as a reminder to our Zoom board members, to please make sure that you are off mute whenever you are voting, so that that gets picked up for hearing on our recording. We want to go ahead and approve the minutes, or do we have any announcements from Tim first? Okay, so item number 1, we have our minutes from the previous board meeting, June 4th, 2020. Has everyone had a chance to review those minutes? Any discussion that we need to have with regard to the minutes?
No.
Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve. Sorry, I had to get myself unmuted.
Thank you, Lee.
I'll second.
But we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Motion passes. Okay. Tim, do we have any announcements tonight?
No announcements.
Okay, we want to move straight on to the first project then.
Okay, Otto's Car Wash, we have a request to continue to next month's meeting, August 6th.
Heather, do we need to open a public meeting for this one since they're requesting to be continued? Heather? No, we can go ahead and hi, I just want to know if we needed to open. Hey, yeah. Do we need to open a public hearing for the Otto's Car Wash since they are requesting to be continued until the August 6th meeting?
If you're making a motion to continue, then yes, you would need to open that up to public comment.
All right, thank you.
Make a motion. Yeah.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to open any discussion now on this one, or open a public hearing. Do we have any members from the audience? Okay, seeing none. Motion and a second. Vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Meeting is, Otto's Car Wash is continued into the August 6th Design Review Board meeting. Next item on the agenda is the Latitude Shopping Center monument sign. Tim?
Yes, thank you. This is a replacement. This was previously approved. This project came through and was previously approved, and at last month's meeting, they downsized it, if you will, due to budgetary constraints. It's the same way with this sign. They want to replace what was previously approved with this new sign due to budgetary constraints. The previous sign was a little different in that it was letters sitting on a base. The new sign is more of a traditional type monument sign with a base, and still says the same thing, latitudes. It's in compliance with the scenic corridor. It's just different than what was previously approved. So with that, I'll take any questions the board may have.
And do you have any, the previous sign?
Yes,
handy,
yes,
So we can compare?
it's in your package.
Oh, it is? Okay, sorry.
It should say
Tim, is the
previously
first one
approved
that
sign.
So the first one we get to in the package is the old or the new?
I have a hard copy. I don't know what the digital files are, but it should say previously approved sign for the one that was approved originally.
So the first sheet that we get to is on, title block that has a G 3.0. And I believe from what you're describing, it seems that might be the old sign. And then the new sign is on a different title block.
Yeah, it should
Yeah, I
be,
think you're right.
it should be Exhibit D is the old sign and Exhibit F is the new sign on the digital files.
I
So
can't,
here, let me see if I can clear it up. The old sign is the one with the letters that were sort of above the base of the sign by themselves, and the new sign is the one that has, like you said, the more traditional with the letters on the base of the sign, the body of the sign.
Yes, that's correct.
Got it.
So the advanced sign solutions title block is the new sign.
Yes,
it's G 3.0 is the page number that I can see.
And that's the old
If you
one.
keep scrolling, yeah, I think that's the old one, and then if
Oh.
you keep scrolling, there's another,
It's the same.
G 4.0?
advanced.
No, I think they're both G 3.0. So I guess
So are these-
the first one in our packet is the old one, the second one is the new one.
Yeah, the one that has the slatted wood slats, and then the latitude is on top of the wood slat with the number underneath center, and it's on, and it has all the details of the stop sign, handicap, and.
So this is the new sign.
Yeah. You can look at the date, 3/11/2020 versus the other one is dated.
Oh, there you go, that's a good idea. Imagine that, date.
Yeah, the other one doesn't have a date, or it's got 8/19/2019.
So that's the old one.
That's the old one, G 3.0.
G 3.0 is correct.
Yeah.
And the
So they
new one,
labeled-
the new one doesn't have
The labeled sheet's the same,
a page.
They're both that, yeah, they're both G3, but, I think
0.0, but the dates are different.
the dates are different, right?
I don't see that.
Oh, it's confusing.
Oh, see, no.
All right, I'm caught up now, I think.
So it's just more of a traditional
Is the
monument
location,
sign.
is this-
Yeah, I believe that,
the location being proposed in the same spot, it's just the new sign?
I believe so, yes. I actually didn't look at, I mean, it's in here, it's showing where it's going. I didn't double check that. It seemed to me like the last time it was going on the west side of the entrance, now it's going on the east side of the entrance. So I think it did change where it was being placed, but it's still in the scenic corridor buffer, so it's compliant. Yeah, I didn't think to print that out, but I believe it was on the west side of the entrance.
that red border around the latitude, word latitude, not part of the sign, correct?
No, it's just outlining the dimension of the sign for the copy area.
Okay.
So you're saying that red box is just an outline for the dimensions, right?
Correct,
That's not what it's gonna look like.
correct.
Okay, so it's gonna be the white flat with the letters and then the numbers, and that's it?
Yes,
Okay.
And Tim, there's a requirement about the base of the sign. Does this meet that, I'm assuming?
I think so. I mean, it doesn't, well, I think that's a good question. I think there is a minimum that the base has to stick up, because it is sitting on a base, but we changed the definition of what constituted a monument sign, and did not bring my code with me. So I would make that a condition of approval if you approve it, just that it meets that requirement.
Well, I sort of like it with, that it looks like it doesn't have a base.
I mean, it is sitting on a base, just not the typical monument style base we're used to.
Right, and that's really very minimal. It just cleans the whole sign up. I mean, I think it's really clean. And if you would put a base on it, it takes away from the slats being all the same. Changes the proportions. It changes the look. And I think that the numbers would be too low if you have a base there.
I don't have a problem with it the way it is aesthetically. I just want to make sure it meets the code.
Yeah, I think the answer is
understand that.
yes. I don't have my code with me.
What, Tim?
I think the answer is yes, because a monument sign has to have a base, and this does. It's just minimal. It's just sitting on top of that, but I think that would meet the definition of a monument sign.
Okay.
All right. I don't have any other questions.
I'll
I was gonna say, if there's no additional questions, is there anyone from the audience that wants to speak on the project? Seeing none, and do we have a motion?
I'll motion to approve.
Motion, do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. All right.
Okay, lastly is
Tim,
Carbon Meaning Office Building. It's a major development submitted by Jenkins Engineering requesting approval to develop 30,750 square feet of commercial/office space with associated infrastructure on 6 acres with a future land use of commercial in a zoning category of general commercial. It's located on the north side of Highway 98, west of Serenoa Road and east of MC Davis Boulevard. It was previously part of the Forest View Village PUD, but they're in the process of doing a PUD amendment and pulling this 6 acres out of the PUD. So it's moving forward without requiring those PUD, whatever's required under the PUD. It's just under our regular code. It is compliant, and unless you have questions, I'll turn it over to the applicant for his presentation.
have one question, Tim, for you, just to clarify. There is signage here, so are we approving the building and the signage?
They're not proposing any
Okay.
building signage at this time. They're only proposing a monument sign.
Right, so are we approving that monument sign today?
That's a little unclear. When we decided to bring these things forward, I mean, I don't think there's any reason to bring it back twice, but it's kind of unclear whether you're approving it as part of this development order or it has to come back. I mean, the code doesn't address that, but I don't see any reason for it to come twice. If you all approve it, I think they just have to, upload a sign application and then staff can approve it.
Okay, great. I only asked because it says on the sign sheet preliminary DRB review, so I didn't know if the applicant, if this was their final submittal for the sign, since it says preliminary.
Yeah, you would have to ask the applicant. I don't know the answer to that
Okay.
either.
Good evening, I'm Scott Jenkins with Jenkins Engineering. I'm here representing the applicant for the Carbon Meeting Building. As you can see on the drawing behind me, this is the site plan for the project. And again, like Tim mentioned, this is part of the Forest View overall project. It's out close to the new Dune Lakes Elementary School. We're kind of on the far east side. The applicant owns about 6 acres total and is building on about 2 acres. The remaining 4 acres to the east are mostly wetlands, so that'll remain natural like they are now. As Tim stated, we have about a 30,000 square foot building with parking along the frontage and some green spaces. We do have an architectural rendering that I'll just kind of put up here. The architect for the project, John Snell, is also here to answer any questions you guys may have about the architecture of the building and those type questions. To answer the question regarding the sign, I do think the applicant does want the sign approved tonight at this meeting. If they make a revision later on, I'm sure they'll have to come back before this board again, but that is the intent, is to get that sign approved, and they have pretty minimal signage proposed out there. I'll be happy to answer any questions you guys might have about the site plan or engineering, and I'll let John come up and answer anything as far as the architectural.
I do have a process question. I'm not sure this is for you, though, Scott. So the signage was not advertised on our agenda. So does that need to come back as an advertised item? The only thing is the major development order that's listed on the agenda blurb.
Well, not if we approve it as part of, under the DO, because the requirement now in Chapter 6 is you have to provide signage to the DRB up front with your project. So I don't think that's necessary. You're approving the sign with the development order for this project.
Okay. Thank you, Tim.
Are you ready for us to ask questions, Kelly?
Yes, please.
Okay. Where is the HVAC equipment? I know it's not on the roof, but where, my plans were kind of hard to read.
My name is John Snell, and one of the owners of Design Build Systems. I'm here to discuss this project. The question is, where are the HVAC units? Okay. They're ground mounted along the north side of the building, and they will be screened. My preference is that they're screened with vegetative screening rather than wood screening. My opinion sometimes is the wood screening looks worse than the units themselves. So we would provide some kind of vegetative screening here. Just to answer a question that hasn't been asked yet, there is no mechanical equipment on the roof. All the mechanical equipment is shown here on ground mounted, and the HVAC units are inside the building, 1 or 2 on each floor.
Thank you. And, my only other question, if I'll go ahead and get myself out of the way here. and this may be for Tim, on the monument sign, it shows changeable copy and it calls them tenant panels. Tim, is that allowable to list tenants in a complex on a monument sign?
Yes, as long as it's
Like a-
changeable copy, and it can be 50% of the total. So the max is 28 square feet, 14 square feet of that can be changeable copy. This is going to be a multiple occupancy complex, so that's why they want to be able to identify the tenants, but they're not allowed to put them permanently on the sign. So they're going to have tenant panels.
Right.
Tim, were there any buffers that were required? Sorry.
The
Before
25-foot,
you step back down.
just the scenic corridor buffer and along the road, Forest View Boulevard, the 10-foot, one canopy tree for every 25 linear feet. That's the only requirement.
Thank you. I had some questions about the landscape plan. Is Brad Davis with us or on the phone, or can someone there speak about?
I can try to answer the questions. Brad's not here, but I'll try to answer
Right.
whatever questions you have.
All right, Scott. So my first question is that, it looks like there's going to be, from the photometric plan, that there are pole lights in the parking islands, but that's not shown on the landscape plan, and I believe there are gonna be conflicts with the trees in those locations. And so I was curious, as to why they weren't shown and if they are actually shown based on the photometric plan.
Brad didn't show the photometric or the light poles on here, I think, because he actually just didn't have the locations of them at the time. The lighting plan was done a little bit later than this. But what we would do if we do have any conflicts with where the trees and the shrubs are is basically try to line them up with the back alignment of the curb line, basically, so that the poles would be on the back side of any landscaping in those areas.
With your detention basin in the center island there, I'm a little concerned about placement of the poles and the trees to make sure that we can get everything,
Yeah, I think,
adjusted.
our retention basin is within this area here, and we have some pretty 4-to-1 side slopes on that, so they're fairly gradual. And it actually doesn't start until a few feet off the backside of the curb. So I think we'll have enough room to do that, but we can certainly, provide something to Tim to make sure that all those things fit within the same areas. That's pretty typical of what we do on most of the projects that we have.
And then, there's no ground cover material called out for your retention basin or for, the area around the building.
Everything in those areas will be sodded.
We see notes about sod, and I didn't see anything on the landscape plan.
It's actually on the grading and drainage plan. We have some notes that cover that, but everything on the site that's been disturbed, including the retention areas, are all sodded, basically.
Last question, sorry for bombarding you for the
All right.
landscape questions.
That's okay.
On the plan, east side of the property, on the landscape plan, it says vegetation to be preserved.
Yes.
But it looks like there's a retaining wall there, and then there's also a note that says no existing trees on the site are preserved. And so I just wanted to know what was going on in that location.
Yeah, the existing.
I asked if there was a buffer required earlier.
The existing tree note is really more for the front 25-foot landscape buffer because we're supposed to preserve those if there's anything there. But that area just has really small pines, so there's nothing to preserve. Everything to the east, for about 400 feet to the east, is all part of this same 6 acres and will not be disturbed. So that's basically all going to remain natural for that remaining 4 acres that are to the east of this property, because most of it's wet.
I'd like to hear a little bit about, the design of the elevations of the building. What was the intent there?
Okay, I'll let John answer those questions.
I brought samples, I don't know if you want to see them, of the exterior of the building. But I can tell you, the building is constructed steel structure. Floors with steel structure,
Yeah, I'm sorry, I
steel
can't hear
rafters
you.
and a metal roof. Pardon me?
I can't hear you. Sorry, you were
Oh.
talking away
Speaking
from
to
the
the
microphone.
Oh, okay. Is that better? Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
This is a 3-story steel structure. It has rafters holding up the roof, and the roof is a metal roof. And I have a sample of that if you'd like to see it. I also have samples of the stucco. So the building itself is a stucco building with 2 colors of stucco and these bands running horizontally here that capture this front entrance, right?
Mhm.
Windows are trimmed, again, with a stucco band, which is in this darker color. So, and the shutters are in the same color as the stucco band. So it's really a building with 3 colors. It has the white, what I'm calling white, and I have a sample of
Like
that
that.
here. And then I have the gray, which is the around the windows and on the porch. That's this gray here, and then the steel roof, which is so it's really just 3 colors. It's very simple. That's the top right there. It's very simple. The owner wanted it simple. He's emphasizing his business and his partner's business in the building. And one of the key factors in the design is that it is energy conservative.
Right.
The air handling units are highly efficient. The condenser units are highly efficient. The exterior walls are highly efficient and exceed the Florida Energy Code. The roof is a highly insulated roof, and LED lights are used throughout the building and also on the site. So we have tried to, as well as make it a good-looking building, to provide energy conservation that supports both the partners in their work.
Yeah, I love that about everything you're saying. I like. I'm just having a little bit of, I just see this building looking, it's so rigid, and everything is the same on all 4 sides in terms of the spacing of the windows and which it can be really nice. It just comes across as being a little bit more institutional than a, just commercial building, which is an office. And I don't know whether that's good or bad, but I'm just pointing it out. And I don't know whether you wanted that on purpose or not.
As a matter of fact, we did, the building is designed on the inside on a 5-foot module. Some would argue it's a 5-foot or a 10-foot module. It's either one. And therefore, the window spacing is based on what would be either a 5-foot increment, 10-foot increment, 15-foot increment, 20-foot increment on the inside of the building.
Yeah,
So
I designed buildings.
that reads
I
through
did
on the
buildings in-
windows. That reads through on the windows, and it's just it's part of how you design buildings. So if
Well,
there,
I designed buildings in New York City, and I had those 5-foot increments because of offices, and you had the corner offices and the other offices and the interior offices. I'm familiar with that. I just, I'm just pointing something out because it just, you know, in terms of how it fits into the whole 98, corridor. And, you know, it's gonna be back further, so you're not gonna really see it prominent on the highway. And I just, it just spoke to me because, you know, I find that the scale of the building allows for a little bit more articulation in terms of the elevation, and without it costing much. But, you know, and you know, architecture is so subjective, you know, so.
I noticed the same thing, Lourdes. Not that I'm a trained professional like you, but I don't know that I don't think it's a deal breaker for me, but I noticed
You know,
that.
that's why I'm not pushing it, because it's not really a deal breaker. I'm just, you know,
Right.
those were my impressions, you know, sometimes they emphasize, when buildings are that large, you emphasize the corners or the base and separate the first floor base with the corners and have a second floor. But sometimes, you know, there's styles where you have this kind of rigidity, and, you know, rationalist style is like super rigid like this.
Yeah.
And that's okay too.
I think I'm with you that if,
This kind of rigidity here.
yeah, I'm with you that I think if this were right up on 98, I would have more heartburn about it.
But there's gonna be trees in front and you know, it's.
Yeah.
And it's not bad. I mean, I don't think it's bad. I'm just pointing what. You guys know me. I have to say what I think. So, but the other question that I had was, what exactly is the vegetation that you're going to use to screen the HVAC system?
Pardon me? I didn't hear the question.
What exact vegetation? You said you're going to screen the HVAC equipment with vegetation, but what exact vegetation? Because sometimes I've had builders that want to screen the vegetation with grass. So it's not a screen. So that's why I want to ask.
Well, I'm not going to screen it with grass. We've
No, I
done
know.
this.
I mean, I'm sorry.
It's okay. We've done this before. In fact, at the Dixie Electric Cart building, which incidentally won an award from Scenic Corridor, we screened it with, what did we use? Remember what we used?
I don't remember the name.
Holly or something. I can't remember what we did, but
Holly?
the point is,
Post maybe?
I don't remember exactly, but.
Nothing shown on the landscape plan, so.
That's the thing, yeah.
My input is that these, not only, I think the plants look better, but also the plantings allow air to free flow around these condenser units.
Right.
Whereas wood, even if it's slatted or something, but it's visually impairing, so therefore it's impairing the flow of air. So that's why I would do it. And I would do it with some kind of shrubbery if, you know, that would provide in the future, not only at the time, but in the future, that these units will be mostly hidden. But they are on the north side of the building anyway. They're not visible from either road or, from either road, so.
Yeah, the code does require that they're screened from all four sides, so I'd say, you know, we could make it a condition of approval, Lourdes. How about that?
Yeah, why don't we? Because we need to know what kind of vegetation it is. I know, I'm sorry about my comment, I was exaggerating, but we need, because different plants, you know, even if there were trees in there, they wouldn't screen the condensers because
I'm not,
they're
I wouldn't use,
trucks, so,
wouldn't
we
use
need to know
trees
what-
either.
What goes
No.
there,
No, some kind of shrubbery that provides an adequate, screen.
right. Okay, well,
So I have a couple of questions about the signage and the proposed locations. So, is the signage appears to be kind of a cream color? Is that one of the colors that's used on the building itself? Is that one of the whites that you
I
were
haven't-
referring to
I haven't
earlier?
seen this material
The
you're
three
talking about.
whites and the gray?
The owner, I think, submitted it directly to you all. I haven't seen it. I don't know that Scott's seen it either.
Looking
I-
for a color, I don't.
I believe the intent for the sign is to match exactly the exterior of the building. So if it shows as brown or tan on the drawings that were submitted, it should match the exact same stucco colors as the building, which will be basically white.
is it,
My
yeah,
recommendation
well,
to
we
him,
might need to note
to
that.
make it
on
the
the,
same colors of the building,
on the
gray and
signage.
white.
I prefer making it a condition.
Yeah.
Sure,
Yeah.
that's not a problem at all.
And there's 4 proposed locations with their preference. Listed.
That is correct, yes. Their preferred location would be in the front of the building, closer to Highway 98, near their driveway connection. Their second option would be closer to the secondary access back in that area. So one of those two, I think, would be what they prefer, with the first option being closer to 98.
So are you saying that those are options, or is,
They are options, yes. Whenever
Okay.
the information was submitted by the owner, he gave some options in case you didn't want it close to 98 out in the front of the building. So either one would be fine with him.
I'm okay with number 1 if y'all are.
yeah, I am too. I mean, that'd be the best place.
It makes the most sense for
Yep.
visibility.
Uh-oh.
But,
What do you think, Kelly?
Kelly?
Well, it's difficult when we have landscape plans that are showing, a heavily planted landscape buffer as we need along 98, and then you're asking us to imagine a sign panel in there. Because I don't know exactly where in that area the sign panel is being placed and how that's gonna affect the plant material. We're looking at that corner having 2 palm trees, 2 or 3 live oaks, and several ground covers. So it gives me a little bit of pause, because I know that there shouldn't be anything displaced from that area. But you're gonna have a similar problem in the other locations. I mean, I think it does make sense as a location. I just would like to see it incorporated into the landscape plan well.
Yeah, I agree with you, because we don't have how it's placed, whether it's gonna be parallel to 98, or is it gonna be perpendicular to 90? I mean, you want it parallel, I think,
Yes, I would
to
think
be
so.
more visible.
Well, I think they're showing the marking on the markup looks like it's a catty corner, so
Oh, let
it
me
would be
see.
facing, yeah.
Yeah, I don't see it. See, I just saw the bubble.
Yeah, this is number 1.
Oh, is that the number 1? Okay, so there's,
Actually, I get where you're coming from, but the code actually requires it to be in the scenic corridor buffer. That's where the sign's supposed to be located.
I don't have a problem with it being located in the buffer. It's just a very formal landscape plan as it sits with a lot of vegetation. And so it just gives me a little bit of concern about how it's gonna be placed and how that's gonna displace the trees around it.
Well, I think you could put it in front of the trees. I mean, if you make it parallel to 98, there's those two
Yeah.
trees, and on the red rectangle, you know, right at the corner there. That wouldn't displace anything. I don't think that,
I think there's room.
yeah, I think there's plenty of room there.
I think it can be worked in, it just kinda gets,
I
we're
think
asked,
maybe-
we're being asked
maybe
to
place
imagine
it.
a lot of things.
Yeah.
I think it needs to be placed. So, I think that would be one of the requirements. I mean, is,
Right, I would assume it would kind of be in between these.
we can require for them not to change the landscape, but place the monument sign there in front.
Well, I mean, I think that the landscape architect should take a look at that and make the best judgment about where it needs to go and how things need to be adjusted, but, you know, there is a very formal frontage, it's symmetrical and has some balance to it, so I'd wanna make sure that, it fit well. And how it's placed is obviously important with it being perpendicular or horizontal.
Sure, we can get Brad to add that to his plan, just as, so you can see from a perspective of scale how it fits in. That's not a problem.
Yeah, but I mean, otherwise, I don't have an issue with it going there. I think that makes the most sense in the location one.
So let's just, make a motion and include those requirements.
So we've talked about a requirement for landscape screening for the HVAC, for, placement of the sign, color of the sign to match the building. Is there anything else that we've discussed that we wanted to add as a condition?
I don't think so.
Miss,
No.
anyone want to make a motion?
Want to take public comment first?
Is there anyone there from the public to make comment? No, seeing no one.
All right, I'll take a stab at the motion. Got me? Okay, I'll make a motion to approve with 3 conditions. 1, that the color of the monument sign matches one of the colors on the building. 2, that the monument sign is placed such that it doesn't interfere at the location number 1, such that it doesn't interfere with the landscape plan. Is that good on that?
Can I interrupt for 1 second?
Yep.
Would you be happy if it was the gray that would be on the monument sign? Because I wouldn't approve that.
Or that it matched the light, the white,
The stucco color.
the light stucco color?
Yeah.
White stucco. I'm good with that.
Just
All
to
right.
make sure.
So that,
I just think it needs to be incorporated into the landscape plan. I don't,
so how do you want to word that?
I think that would be fine. It did not disrupt, because there is a balance to that landscape plan, so that'll work. I'll go with that.
Okay. And then the third condition is that the equipment, ground-mounted equipment is adequately screened with a appropriate landscape buffer from all sides, from view from all sides. Is that detailed enough on that one?
I think so.
Okay, that's my motion. Karen, is Karen there? Is she our scribe today? Was that?
I'm here.
Did you get all that?
Yes.
Okay, great. Woo! complicated one.
Mouthful. So we have a motion. Do we have a second on the motion?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you.
All right, motion passes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I believe that, that was our final item on the agenda tonight. We have a motion to adjourn.
Aye.
Do we
I'd like
do we
to
do a motion?
adjourn.
Okay.
Second.
Second. Aye. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye.
Goodbye.